There are some men who are neither strikingly handsome nor particularly wealthy, yet there's something about them that women simply can't look away from. They don't try too hard, don't make a scene. They just show up at the right moment, say a few words, and vanish like they were never there. And yet, somehow, they linger in a woman's mind for a long time. It's not a love spell. It's not even about being a smooth talker. It's a quiet, magnetic energy that comes from a man who knows what he wants and doesn't need anyone else to validate it. Modern society has caused many men to lose their sense of strength. They've been told, if you want to win a woman's heart, text her all the time, show up everywhere, compliment her endlessly, and convince her she's the one. But what's the usual outcome? Boredom, disappointment, and eventually, you disappear from her radar. Here's the truth. Women aren't drawn to things they can easily predict. What keeps them up at night isn't the nice guy who's always available. It's the man who's composed, yet mysterious. Not distant, but never desperate. The one who says nothing, but whose silence makes them wonder. In this article, you'll discover 7 psychological strategies that don't just make a woman like you, they make her obsessed. Not through sweet words, but through the energy you carry, the emotional backbone you possess, and the way you command your own presence. This isn't another How to Flirt article. It's a mindset shift, a guide to becoming the kind of man a woman will never forget, even if you only cross paths for a fleeting moment. Strategy 1. Stop complimenting her beauty. Start noticing what others overlook. You meet a beautiful woman. Like most men, your instinct is to say something like, "You're so pretty," or "I've never seen anyone as attractive as you." Then you wait, hoping for a smile, a spark, a soft "thank you." But what actually happens? She smiles politely, nods, and forgets you moments later. Because to a woman who hears compliments all the time, your words blend into the background noise of her life, pleasant but meaningless. Beautiful women live in a world saturated with surface-level admiration. They're constantly seen, but rarely understood. Everyone notices the packaging, but almost no one sees what's underneath. And that, if you can do it, makes you unforgettable. So instead of saying, "You're gorgeous," do something most men don't. Listen. Wait until she shares a thought, a book she loves, a personal perspective, and then say something like, "The way you think about that, not many people see it that way. I love how you express yourself. It's thoughtful. You're really observant." That kind of recognition hits a deeper nerve. It's not just flattery. It's validation, an act of truly seeing her in a way most never do. When you touch the parts of her she doesn't show off, you stop being just another guy. You become someone rare, someone who noticed what the world ignored. And then, something subtle shifts inside her. You're no longer just that guy who's trying to hit on her. You're someone she wants to impress, someone she wants to keep around just to see what else you'll notice. And here's the twist. After she's felt deeply seen and intellectually appreciated, that's when you say, almost offhandedly, "Also, you're incredibly attractive." Now, that compliment doesn't feel cheap. It lands differently because it comes from someone she respects, someone who sees more than skin deep. And that's exactly why it lingers. Strategy 2. Don't always move toward her. Know when to stay still. One of the biggest mistakes men make when they sense a woman is interested is rushing to match that energy full force. She starts texting more, inviting you out, maybe even showing clear signs of affection, and suddenly you think, "This is it, time to double down so I don't lose her." And just like that, you pour all your attention into her. But here's the strange part. The more effort you put in, the more she starts to pull away. Messages become shorter, her gaze feels distant, plans get canceled last minute. You're left wondering, how did it go wrong when you did everything a good guy is supposed to do? The answer lies in a simple truth. Women aren't drawn to instant certainty. What stirs their curiosity and desire is the feeling of almost having you, but not quite. That doesn't mean playing games or acting cold. It means creating space. Just enough room for her to lean in, voluntarily. You don't need to disappear. You just don't need to reply to every message instantly. You don't need to be available at every time she suggests. You don't need to mirror every emotional wave she sends your way. And most importantly, you don't need to shift your own rhythm just because she's suddenly dialed up hers. When you hold your ground like that, you create something called positive emotional tension, a small gap that gives her mind space to wander. What's he thinking about today? Why isn't he as responsive as usual? Did I say something wrong? And here's the thing. Once a woman starts thinking about you in silence, you've already entered her mind without lifting a finger. On the other hand, if you're always present, always eager, always giving 100% too early, she won't feel the need to invest emotionally. There's nothing to win, and desire fades, quietly, like a gift given too easily. A man's true allure doesn't come from constantly stepping forward. It comes from knowing exactly when to stand still and letting her make the next move. Strategy 3. You don't need to make her jealous. Just be the kind of man people notice. When we hear the word jealousy, we often picture manipulative games, texting someone else, posting cozy photos, or acting distant just to provoke a reaction. But real attraction through jealousy isn't about tricks. It's rooted in one timeless truth. People desire what others value, and women feel this instinct deeply. In a woman's emotional world, there's a quiet reflex to protect what others seem to admire. She might not say it aloud, but she's always aware. Who's watching you? Who respects you? Who wants to be near you? That's why you don't need to try to make her jealous. Just live in a way that naturally draws attention. Be the man who moves comfortably in social settings, who connects with people easily, who shows up with presence and confidence without trying to steal the spotlight. It could be as simple as a few glances from other women at a dinner party, a light-hearted joke from a female coworker, the way you hold yourself in a room. She picks up on all of it. And when she sees that you're not a man waiting for love to find him, but one who has options and yet chooses her, her emotions don't turn competitive. They turn protective. She doesn't feel threatened. She feels invested. Here's the key. Never boast. Don't say things like, "Lots of women are into me." Don't act smug or cocky. Just move through the world with ease, as if you're used to being noticed, without needing to prove anything. Because women are intuitive. They don't need proof. They feel energy. And when they sense that others want you, they'll start asking themselves, if I'm not careful, could someone else take his place? Is his attention shifting? Does he still see me the way he used to? These quiet questions, when they echo inside her over time, are what keep her thinking about you, even when you're not around. So no, you don't need to make her jealous. You just need to be the kind of man who naturally sparks admiration, and let her feel it without a word. Strategy 4. You don't need her to live, but you still want her to stay. There's a type of man that makes women pause, not because he's cold, but because he's calm. Not because he's indifferent, but because he's not afraid to lose anyone. He's the kind of man who, if you walk away, will remain whole. He won't beg. He won't crumble. He won't chase after closure. But if you stay, he'll show you a world full of depth, presence, and quiet strength. The difference lies in one mindset. I want you here, but I don't need you to exist. Too many men, the moment they feel emotional closeness, begin to shift. They cling more, control more, invest more than they should, not out of desperation for love itself, but for the feeling of being loved. And when you hand over your emotional balance to someone else, what happens? You lose your edge. She no longer sees you as grounded, but as reactive, not as a guide, but as someone waiting for a signal. But when you stay centered, when you're not thrown off by sweet words or sudden silence, she senses something powerful. A stillness, a strength, a man who doesn't panic when feelings fluctuate. And that's when the questions begin to rise in her mind. Why doesn't he seem affected? Would he walk away if I push too far? Am I special enough to keep him close? These questions activate something deep inside her, a primal desire to earn the loyalty of a man with clear standards and self-respect. To become that man, you need to build from the inside out. Create a life rich enough to stand on its own. Have core values you won't compromise, not for love, not for anyone. Know when to walk away with grace, even if you still care. Freedom doesn't mean rejecting love. It means you know who you are before you enter a relationship. It means you won't let your identity bend just because your feelings are real. Women don't become obsessed with men who lose themselves for love. They become obsessed with men who love deeply, but are still willing to leave if they're not respected. Strategy 5. She doesn't need to understand you completely. She just needs to stay curious. People fall in love more with imagination than with reality, especially women, because their emotions don't come from knowing everything about a man. They come from sensing that there's still something they don't know. When a man becomes too easy to read, too predictable, he turns into a routine. Always respond the same way. Always ask the same safe questions. You're not building intimacy. You're becoming background noise. Women crave emotional variety, not drama, but subtle unpredictability, the kind that adds flavor to the ordinary, the kind that makes them lean in a little closer, wondering what version of you they'll meet today. Maybe today you're quiet and thoughtful. Maybe this weekend you're playful and spontaneous. Maybe one evening you surprise her with a song instead of a question. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional artistry. It's not about being erratic, it's about staying dynamic, about breaking her expectations in gentle, intriguing ways. Like, instead of your usual, "Did you eat yet?" message, you stay quiet all afternoon, and then send her a song that says, "This reminded me of you." Or maybe you're always calm and serious, until one night you tease her with clever wit. Or when she's upset, you don't jump in with explanations. You just smile and say, "I'm not trying to win, I'm trying to understand." Moments like these break the rhythm. They create questions in her mind. What's he thinking? Did I really get to know him yet? What's underneath that quiet? A woman might like you for your kindness. She might appreciate your stability. But what makes her obsess, what keeps her coming back, is that feeling that she hasn't figured you out completely. You don't need to hide who you are. But do keep something sacred, a layer she hasn't seen, a part of your world that only opens slowly with time. When a woman keeps asking herself, "What will he be like today? Did I miss something last time?" Then you've become a book she hasn't finished. And no one puts a book down when they're still hungry for the next page. Strategy 6. The silent competition. What women never say but always feel. Women might not talk about it, but they always sense it when another woman looks at you a certain way, and sometimes that one fleeting glance can completely shift how she sees you. This isn't open rivalry. It's not drama. It's something far more subtle, a quiet, unspoken instinct to compete, especially when a woman realizes she hasn't fully secured a man she sees as valuable. And here's the truth. You don't need to trigger this feeling. You just need to live like a man who naturally draws attention. Don't rush to shut down your social life just because you're getting closer to one woman. Don't shrink your world to prove you're loyal in advance. Because when you make yourself too easy to claim, you remove the need for her to keep earning your presence. Instead, speak with ease to everyone, men and women alike. Show kindness without flirting. Stay grounded in your rhythm no matter who's watching. This sends a strong message. I don't belong to anyone unless they've truly earned it. And when a woman senses that you're not easily owned, that you don't fall into anyone's lap, that you don't let emotions steer your decisions, she steps up, she leans in, she begins to want to prove herself. She'll start paying closer attention to the way you look at others. She'll wonder if that smile you gave someone else meant something more. She'll feel a slight pressure, not from you, but from within, to hold your attention. This isn't manipulation, it's magnetism. You don't need a dozen women chasing you. You just need to be the kind of man who others would chase because of how you carry yourself, how you move, how you speak, and how little you try to impress. That alone creates a field around you, a quiet tension, and when a woman feels it, she won't walk away. She'll lean in closer, invest deeper, and stay because she wants to earn her place beside you. Strategy 7. Give enough, then disappear just a little. In a world starving for connection, most men make the same mistake. They give too soon and too much. You text all day. You're always the one to start the conversation. You check in every night. Are you okay? You think you're making her feel loved, but in reality, your presence slowly turns into noise. Like a beautiful song played on repeat, your efforts stop moving her. They become familiar, predictable, easy to ignore. What do people truly value? What they can't always have? What feels rare? What they once held and suddenly don't. When you make yourself 100% available at all times, she forgets what it feels like to miss you. So shift your energy, change your rhythm, be fully present when you're with her. But then, step back, naturally, quietly. Not to punish, not to play games, but to create space. Space where desire can grow. Let one of your messages make her wait. Let one of your glances echo in her memory. Let your brief silence feel less like distance and more like a pause that holds meaning. Because women aren't drawn to men who are always there. They're drawn to men who know when to show up and when to hold back. When you care for her deeply, then disappear just a little, her mind enters a kind of emotional suspense. It's like a song that cuts off at the chorus, a movie that stops before the ending, and suddenly she's wondering, what happened? Is he okay? Did I say something wrong? Why do I feel this emptiness? And that's when you've truly entered her mind, without doing anything more. The key isn't to play hot and cold. The key is emotional discipline, to control your presence, not to withhold love, but to give it weight. Because when you return, when your energy reappears after absence, you're not just back, you're missed. You don't have to be there all the time to matter. You just need to leave an impression deep enough so that when you're gone, your absence speaks louder than your words ever could. Conclusion, you don't need to win. You just need to know the game you're playing. So many men enter a relationship like it's a competition. They try to win her over, hold on tight, and never let her take a single step away. But in all that chasing, they forget themselves. They become predictable, easily available, and eventually easy to forget. Here's the truth. You don't need to be better than anyone else. You don't need to overpower women. You don't even need to win every emotional moment. You just need to understand the game that's unfolding and choose not to be swept away by it. When you stay grounded in who you are, when you give at the right time, stay silent when it matters, when you keep just enough mystery instead of laying your whole soul bare, you don't just attract women. You attract respect. You inspire longing. You create obsession, not by effort, but by presence. That can't be faked, and it can't be bought with words. It comes from being a man who knows who he is and lives like it, whether or not someone stands beside him. If you've made it this far, chances are you're no longer interested in being the kind of man women forget easily. You want to live with stillness, with strength, with a value that no one else defines for you. So subscribe to Light of Wise Elders, a channel where we explore the deeper psychology of men, the quiet strength of masculine presence, and the kind of relationships that last, not because they're loud, but because they're real. Let your silence carry weight, let your gaze speak for you, and live as a man who doesn't need to win, because his very presence already changes the game.